topics in terms of ethics, database, the confidentiality part of it is there. My presentation, few slides are going to be AI in HR, but let's remember before we come to AI in HR, it is AI was because of HR or humans. So it's AI by HR, and then now it is AI for HR. So let's understand what it means for all of us. So essentially, not just in India and in HR, the global AI race has obviously been hot, not just warm. You have a new president, and every day there is a executive order, which looks like a ECG graft, as they say. And I'm sure many of you would have heard of this target project, and 500, that's not a typo, it's $1 billion worth of investment by a variety of companies that has been promised. And then of course, we have ChatGPT. How many of you are actually paid ChatGPT users? No one? Okay, so they ignore the $3 signs. Yeah, all of us are free ChatGPT users. And now of course there is DeepSeek, which was significantly cheaper, in some cases better, but when you ask some uncomfortable questions about China, Tiananmen Square, you get dead answers. So that's where we are. It's not just our Prime Minister being the co-chair of an AI summit in Paris recently and saying that India can take a role. NASSCOM, as we know, also has said the same thing. If you look at some of the figures there in terms of the AI market that is bound to leap by 25 to 35% in the next 4 to 5 years, and the kind of people that are there already there in AI and expected to be there in the next 4 to 5 years, that's a big number that we are going to talk about. And that's again NASSCOM reports. It's not just the government saying, even the industry body is saying the same thing in terms of what AI can do as far as India is concerned. And therefore, you have this gentleman, which I'm sure all of us know, saying that the way the change is happening thanks to AI, what he has alluded to is that things that could take 2 months or 2 years now are happening in 2 months. That's the speed of change that AI is bringing us. I'm not just talking of HR, in the business world, in the corporate world, in our lives, kind of thing. I was there in the other room, and one of the panelists actually, while on stage, went on ChatGPT and said that, okay, give me a poem in Hindi on AI in HR, and that was her closing remarks. So that's what it is. And then of course, if you are not changing, this can happen to you. Talent, latent, whatever, I don't want to get into any controversial kind of statements. So if so much change is happening, 2 years shrunk into 2 months, then obviously it means that we also can't be, we need to be agile, we need to be very quickly. And therefore, as they say, who would have thunk in March or February of 2020 that the world is BAU, business as usual. So if you're still thinking in February of 25, that no, I'm in a very cozy place, I'm in a safe place, and digital transformation or HR, in AI in HR is not going to affect us, you'll find yourself in a very, very uncomfortable kind of situation. So what does this mean? And we just finished a panel discussion where perhaps the key takeaway was the human side of HR, AI and HR, not AI in HR, AI and HR. Anybody have heard of 5.0? No? Industry 5.0? AIML evolution. So what does Industry 5.0? And I'm going to take you back to maybe 240, 250 years ago when the first industrial revolution started, which is what's now called, after 200, 240 years, Industry 1.0. These people in 1784 never knew it is called Industry 1.0. Now we are calling it Industry 1.0. And that was essentially the mechanization part of it. How many of you have seen Modern Times, Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times movie? Only one? Wow, okay. Many more. So what he was trying to portray is exactly what the automation part is there, the famous William Ford statement that you can have any color car as long as it is black. That's the kind of automation that we talked about. And then it went to Industry 2.0, where electricity came in, and that was a big change for kind of, for the industry. Then of course the computers and the electronics came in. Things started getting smaller and smaller in terms of chips, and there is a Moore's law, etc. there. And now Industry 4.0, which was, we thought we are still living in that world, it's already 15-year-old, and there where the human computer interface, the cyber physical interface started coming in play. And 5.0 is where suddenly people are saying, all this is fine, but where are the humans? And therefore, humans and machines, humans and AI is now what is going to be important going forward. I don't know when industry 6.0 is going to happen. I'm not sure anybody can predict that. But as we speak now, we are still living in that 5.0 world. And therefore, when I say humans and AI, this suddenly becomes a very, very important part in terms of human-centric approach, sustainability. Sustainability in this case is not sustainability of a business, but sustainability from an environmental perspective. That again becomes very, very important. And the agility and the resilience that we talked about, you can't be, like an ostrich with your neck in the sand. And what does this mean? Essentially, it starts with, can this technology be people-centric? Again, AI by HR, AI for HR, AI in HR, that's what the people-centricity part is all about. Which means, how do we ensure, how many of us have heard of the whole concept of design thinking? Yeah, what does design thinking start with? EDIPT, E is empathy. Empathy of what? Of whom, what are you trying to do? Who are your potential target customers, consumers, users, buyers, whatever. And therefore, in the same approach, it is going to be people centricity. Can we start with people when we are thinking of technology, when we are thinking of AI, when we are thinking of 5.0? While doing that, there are other three, the triple play, as they call it in business, which is the sustainability part of it. We don't want to be people-centric. We don't want to be growth-centric. I think one of our panelists mentioned that as long as you have a growth mindset. Growth mindset, yes, of course, business is here for growing. But that cannot be at the cost of the environment. And that's where the sustainability part comes in. And third part, of course, is in terms of resilience. What we don't know tomorrow, we should be prepared for today. That's a very strange statement to make, but that's what the times that we are living in. And therefore, we have to decide whether if AI is a friend or foe. Yeah, I'm just putting this, I'm sure you have heard of this number very recently, where the gentleman on the right wanted to buy out the gentleman, or not the gentleman, but his company for $97.4 billion. And he said, no, thank you. How do I change a decimal and actually I buy you out? Yeah, that's what it was. It exactly the same kind of things. And therefore, it can also be a very, very fear. And that's again in the earlier panel in another room I was since morning. One thing that came out was, do we need to fear friend, foe? Yes, but do we need to fear AI? How many of you get what we call spam calls, spam emails, small spam calls every day? Every day? How many? 4 to 5 calls a day. Sorry? 5 to 7 calls a day. Yeah? 3 to 4 calls a day. Do you know how many spam calls happen in the world? More than that? Any guesses? You decide the unit. In a day, 23 million. Somebody pull out a calculator. 2,700 spam calls are placed every second. Into 60 into 24, I don't know, maybe you'll get to some number. That's the number we are talking of. And these are spam calls, these are AI generated calls. She asked a wonderful question, and thankfully most of us said that we want to speak to a human rather than a chatbot, right? So it's not a spam call we want to address to. While I'm based in Pune, while traveling from Pune to Mumbai, I saw my mail, and it was a nice thing that I have got a IT refund, and what pleasant Monday morning it can get. And then it asked me to connect to a link. That's when I realized that no, IT refund, it's the wrong time to get an IT refund, right? Yeah, you file your returns, and then within now these days in a couple of weeks, couple of months, if at all, you'll get an IT refund. Feb 17th is the wrong time to get IT refund. So then, of course, I blocked the number and I forwarded, I tweeted to the cyber police in Pune. But that's where we are in terms of if we don't, again, the whole thing is about responsible behavior as far as usage of AI. I think one of the panelists mentioned that, I don't want to mention that, but some apps and how the data leakage happened and that kind of thing, medical records, etc., etc. So we need to be very, very clear in terms of that. And of course, the other challenge which all of us are really afraid of is, what about this? there are large number of, not 23, but 370 million jobs that are likely to be under threat in the next 4 to 5 years. And that's a huge number, especially given the Indian context. On one hand, we are saying, wow, India is going to be ahead of the curve as far as AI is concerned. But the other hand, there are large number of jobs out of those 370 million, which also could be in India. And therefore, the old has to give way to the new. And some of these jobs are the most under threat. So I know all of us are HR professionals here, so hopefully nobody is a bank cashier or a travel agent, etc., etc. But if you happen to be one, or if you know someone near and dear in any of these, then that's a threat. That could be part of that 375 million that we talked about. Having said that, it is not the end of the world. Why? Because some of the other jobs that we are going to see here didn't even exist 10 years ago. So if you happen to be any of this, you have a great sunrise future. Or we are talking of reskilling and upskilling. These are the opportunities for any of us to get into this. One thing missing here, which I recently heard, is something called prompt engineers. Anybody's guess what is prompt engineer? Absolutely, absolutely. So, a couple of days ago, weeks ago rather, in Bangalore, I was moderating a panel discussion of vice chancellors of universities in the US. And one of the things, of course, is AI in education. And one of the vice chancellors made a very interesting statement that he sees the future of examinations as such that students will not get evaluated by the answers they give, but by the questions they ask. Because ChatGPT will be a common thing for exams. Yeah, today, any teacher here or anybody who also does teaching, so you will be afraid of your students using ChatGPT in that. And what she said, I agree with her. I had the same experience that when I was speaking to this person, and when I got a mail from that same person, they were like, how can you use this language? When I spoke to you, you couldn't even say a few words in English, that kind of thing. So, prompt engineering is what kind of questions you can ask. That is the intelligence that people will check, and that's where the new jobs are. From an Indian perspective, this is the biggest kind of thing because we are still an agricultural economy. 52% of our GDP comes from there, and there are a whole bunch of things that AI has already started doing. As my other time job, my daytime job is I run a consulting company. My other time job is I work with an organization called TIE, which is a non-profit. We work with startups, and there are a host of startups. Some of them are my mentees who are using AI for agricultural use, soil testing, so on and so forth. Large number of use cases already there. This is no longer a lab kind of thing. This is actually a photograph of a restaurant in Chennai where they are going to serve you, or they serve whatever you've ordered, and obviously he's not going to, the robot is not going to take your order on a pen and paper. So everything is automated, and they serve a kind of thing, and in some cases it comes on a what's it called, a conveyor, etc., etc. Any guesses what this is? This is called a smart table, not a heating thing. So let me ask you a question. How many of you work in Infosys or L&T? There is a reason why I'm asking this question, right? Yeah. So you guys are working 90 and 100 hours a week. Okay. Okay, so that was one of the reasons why, but just joking. So I'm just joking here. So you're working very hard. Let's not get to the numbers. And therefore, either you're alone because you're working too hard. Valentine has just passed away. Or even if you have a partner, he or she is already gone to sleep by the time you come back home. You open the fridge, and there are these 2-3 things that you find. Some small bowl of rice, a broccoli, and a tomato. Now IKEA has come out with this smart table that you put this there, and there is a camera up there, and once you put the tomato in that circle there, if you can see there, it will show you what all you can make by using tomato. You put the broccoli near the tomato, and it will give you recipes of how do you use broccoli and tomato, and you put rice, and then it will give you some recipes. That's AI in the kitchen for you. Yeah. This looks like a small house? Yeah, but it is a 3D printed house. Was done in 42 hours. 3D printed, totally. Yeah. And this, of course, we can guess what this is, right? This is a car infotainment system. This is an actual photograph I have taken from my friend's car when I was traveling in the US. He is a Starbucks user, or a regular, I would say, and he forced me to have Starbucks, let me put it that way. So he sort of, when he sat in, he punched in, and it was his usual, and he asked me his cappuccino or whatever he was in. I said, fine. So he said, just make it 2. And he got a message saying that, yeah, it looks like you'll be here at the Starbucks drive-in in about 7-8 minutes. By the time you come, your coffee will be ready. And I know it's two cups this today. But unfortunately, there was a traffic jam. And lo and behold, what happened? He got a message that looks like you are stuck in a traffic jam. So if you kept your order on hold, once you are close to kind of thing, we'll prepare the order so you don't have to wait. Or your coffee doesn't get cold. Again, that's using technology from a consumer convenience perspective. Now let's look at AI in HR. How many of you are actually using AI in HR? Okay, this is about AI in HR and no hands raised. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you must be of that, 70% of people who are saying at least heard, if not used, AI in HR. Clearly, IT, marketing folks are slightly more better than what we are, but 70% is not bad enough. And this is, of course, a global kind of thing. In India, that 70 is roughly 49-50. Yeah, but still 49-50 is a good enough kind of thing. It could mean for a variety of reasons when you say AI in HR. Let's understand what that is. And it could mean one of more of these. I would guess that most of us are using AI in HR for one of 4 or 5 things that I've highlighted, which is obviously your resume screening, your predictive analytics, your chatbots for recruitment, and perhaps AI-based learning platforms, if at all. But I doubt if anybody else is seriously using AI for any other use cases that have been identified. But that's where the potential is. And that's where we need to look into how can we use AI for our own kind of benefit from an HR perspective. But at the end of the day, HR is an enabling function for business, and therefore it has to be enabling from a business perspective. So whether it is, again, going back to some foreign examples, whether it is a Verizon Wireless who's using AI to guide its customers when they walk into a store like this to pick up products, or it is a Walmart who actually is using AI, and this is VR, for training their employees for what is called crowd management on what is called a Black Friday sale. How many of you are iPhone users? All in Mumbai? So how many of you have stood in that BKC shop previous night to buy the latest iPhone? But we've seen photographs, right? Yeah. So that is the kind of demand that is there. So Black Friday, everybody knows what Black Friday is, post Thanksgiving. So in US, there are tons of crowds outside such stores, and Walmart used AI and VR to train employees on crowd management. So that's the kind of thing. This is again a AI company called Greco. And what do you see here? What could be happening here? It's how many of you have started doing video interviews for recruitment? Yeah, many of us. How many of you are actually getting only video CVs? That's the next thing. I'm not going to send you a Word or a PDF document. I'm going to send you a 1.5 hour selfie video which says, who am I? And please hire me. Anybody has experienced that yet? Not yet. But video interview, yes. So what can AI do for you? It can look at your emotions. If you ask a question, you're not going to put an ECG monitor there or a blood pressure monitor there on the candidate. So you don't know whether the heart has gone up or pulse rate has gone up or not. But the facial expressions, etc., can tell you whether that person is tense, is the person is easy, the answer is coming naturally, answer is made up, or 40% of the CVs are fake. So whether the candidate is not what he or she is supposed to do. Yeah, I put a timer anyways. And this is one of my previous employers, which is PwC, who's also using various personas in terms of whether you want to be a data analyst, whether you want to be a consultant, whether you want to be what kind of person, use these personas and try and then you click on that and it'll take you through a journey of what a data scientist means in working in PwC. How much time do I have? Okay, you tell me. How many of you have seen this video of, this is an HR interview, but what you see is a car. Yeah, so let's quickly look at this video.
Welcome, Oliver. Glad to see you put on your blue shirt for the interview.
Yes, indeed. You're welcome.
Are you feeling stressed?
Just a bit, you know.
Please allow me to play some piano music to make you feel more comfortable.
I feel a bit better now, thank you.
Glad to hear that. Tell me, why should I hire you?
I've been passionate about courses I'm a boy.
Okay, let's do a little test. Can you show me where my electric compressor is?
Sure. Here.
Perfect. Can you explain how my 360-degree camera... I think I'm going to keep you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you guess how old is this video? 95. Okay. We've seen, looked at some foreign companies. India is not far behind, as I promised you. And there are companies, of course, Infosys, Wipro, who are doing it for all the usual things that all of us, I'm hopefully doing it in terms of screening, facial recognition, voice recognition also, background check, internal opportunities, yeah, which is the IJPs that we call it. So AI-based kind of IJP recommendations to our own employees. That's a very interesting thing that Wipro does. And then, of course, there is Zoho, found it, which is Monster, doing several things for this as well. Okay. This is one more relatively smaller IT company. Have you heard of Harbinger Group? Yeah, Harbinger Systems. It's an IT company. Learning management systems is what they do. And they've been our clients for some of it. And recently they put out this on LinkedIn. Very, very interesting thing, what they've been doing using AI for internal things. So again, there's this joke that what is the future of AI for humans? And there was this thing about, eventually, like somebody said, there will only be a man and a dog. Yeah, that's all that will be left in the world. When I say man, please don't, I mean, there are ladies here, so man means people. Yeah, humans and a dog, a human and a dog. What is the role of the human? To feed the dog. What is the role of the dog? To ensure that the human doesn't touch any equipment. Yeah, because everything is automated. So it is not whether machines think, I think the key takeaway is whether we continue to think. Yeah, and let's hope we don't get into this human dog situation. Otherwise, there'll be a human, man and a dog walking into the sunset. This is what that joke talked about. Let's hope we don't get into this situation. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.